Hi there, I'm Trish Oswald and I'd like to show you my Humanities and Social Sciences inquiry project. It's a Year 1 inquiry project designed to lead the children through an inquiry to understand how the seasons influence what we can grow. The inquiry forms part of the Year 1 Australian curriculum, Humanities and Social Sciences, under the concept of change. How changes occur over time in relation to self, family and places we belong to. The inquiry is based on the Murdoch model of inquiry. Here are the instructions for my project that will be given to the students. I've attempted to make the language understandable for a Year 1 group, and I've also included some lovely little photos here that will hopefully help the students to be able to read and understand their project. In the Murdoch inquiry model, the first real phase is the generative questions phase, and this is a planning phase that can be done by students or teachers. In this case, being Year 1, it is going to be developed by the teachers, and the guiding question here will be, how do the seasons influence what we can grow? The question has come from my first assessment and the big idea of how do the seasons affect us? Other questions related to this idea are, what is weather? What are the seasons? How do Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples describe the seasons? What do plants need to grow? What plants can we grow? And why can't we have grapes all year round? Some of the skills that the students will be using are basically all of the skills and knowledge strand for the HASS component of the curriculum, and that is questioning, researching, analysing, evaluating and reflecting, and communicating. They'll use these alongside or whilst they are exploring various areas of the geography strand. The next phase of a Murdoch inquiry process is called tuning in, and it's about tuning into the students, not just the topic. So here we have two activities. The first one, we're looking to engage the students and find out what they already know, so their prior knowledge. The students will complete the first two sections of a KWL chart, and the conversation will be based around what we already know about how do the seasons influence what we can grow. In the second activity of my tuning in phase here, we're asking the students to remember what they've learnt previously about weather. So after reading a book about weather, the students will remember all the different words that they know that describe weather, and they will pop that on a word graffiti page that will go in their books. And the second thing that they will do is begin to predict and graph the weather for a month on a great little graphing chart. The next phase of the Murdoch inquiry model is finding out. This is where students act as researchers and gather information to help grow their thinking about the area of inquiry. I have 3 activities in this phase, and in the first one, the students are going to be learning about climate and rainfall. So after looking at some information, researching to collect data, I suppose, and information about the weather and climate, the students will work together to answer some basic questions. The graphs being provided are all locally based, so the students are actually looking at the conditions in their area where they live. The second activity in my finding out phase is about the seasons. The students are going to learn what the seasons are after having a book read to them called All Through the Year by Jane Godwin. The students will work together to create some posters representing what each season is like in terms of weather, clothing, sporting and activities that might happen in those seasons. The final activity in the finding out phase is understanding how Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people describe the seasons and making comparisons between Indigenous seasons and the European version of seasons, which is what we follow in Australia with the 4 seasons. After some pairing up and deciding on a question to ask a local Indigenous elder, the students will participate in an incursion with this elder where they can ask their questions. And then they'll be putting together all the information that they've learnt about seasons so far, and looking back at their graph about climate, and they will be creating a calendar showing both the Indigenous seasons and the European seasons. The next phase of the Murdoch inquiry process is called sorting out. This is about meaning making, and the students are asked to synthesize their learning and begin to make connections. So here we have an activity about what do plants need, and the students will be looking at what elements plants need to survive, and completing some worksheets about what plants need and the plant life cycle. The discussion will also continue into how to care for plants and the garden that the class will build. The second last phase of the Murdoch inquiry process is called going further. It's about taking the learning further and personalising it, and personal and small group pathways of investigation. So here I have 2 activities. The first one, the children will be learning about or finding out about what plants we can grow in Canberra and in what season. So we'll begin by asking them what they think can grow at the moment, and then having a look at the seasonal food guide before they actually choose some seeds from plants that they think will grow, and they will pot those ready for their gardens. The second activity in the going further phase is actually planning and building the garden at school that members of the community can also come and use. This obviously will take some time, but the students will be involved in terms of joining in groups and finding a location in the school that they think would be appropriate for the garden. Now they'll need to think about how much sun that area gets, if there's access to water, and then they can design a basic garden, but it will be the garden and maintenance person at the school that will actually help to build the gardens or build them for us, and the children will then be able to plant the gardens with the design and selection of plants that their group has decided. The final phase of the Murdoch inquiry process is concluding and acting. So in this phase, students will make obvious what they have learnt, and in a way will be asking, what can we do with this information? So the students will be acting upon what they've learnt. They've already created the garden, so they now will be creating posters to invite the members of the community to come and share the gardens with us. So they will be able to show what they have learnt on the poster by indicating to people how to care for a garden, what plants need, which season we're in, and what plants grow in this season. And they can send those out to the community to use and show their communication skills.